Study Section 6. Spanish Voyages and Discovery of the New World. Introduction. Interestingly, the Spanish, neighbors of the Portuguese, caught the bug of overseas exploration almost at the same time with the Portuguese pioneers. They not only visited the area discovered by the Portuguese, but made new discoveries. Amongst their several discoveries, that of America, which was then referred to as the New World, is regarded as one of their landmark discoveries in the 16th century. All this and more should be our focus in this study section. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this section, you should be able to discuss the contribution of Christopher Columbus to European discovery. 2. Describe which other personalities apart from Columbus on behalf of Spain that involve overseas exploration and what was the nature of their activities. Terminology. Circumnavigation, to go completely around as the earth, especially by water. Also to go around instead of through. Expedition, a journey undertaken by a group of people with a particular purpose, especially that of exploration, research, or war. The Spanish involvement. Christopher Columbus explorations. Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer, navigator, colonizer, and citizen of the Republic of Genoa. Under the auspices of the Catholic monarchs of Spain, he completed 4 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean. For most part of the 15th century, the Spaniards were engaged in war with the Muslims who had conquered part of their country. Therefore, Spain has shown little interest in maritime discovery and exploration. In 1492, however, the Muslims were expelled from Spain, and this made it possible for the country to think of the wider question of overseas expansion. The man who changed the attitude of Spain to overseas exploration and expansion was Christopher Columbus. It is true that the Portuguese took the lead in overseas expansion, but their journeys has taken them largely to the east, covering most of the African coast. Yet, there was a thinking that it was possible to reach the east by going westwards. The accomplishment of this expectation is due to the exploratory activities of the hard-working and brave Columbus, 1451 to 1506. This was because Columbus was the first person to try the western route to reach the far east. Christopher Columbus was born in Genoa, Italy, in 1451. By 1479, he had settled in Portugal. He had the idea that by sailing westward, China could be reached. To this end, he sought the financial backing of King John II, 1481 to 1495, of Portugal, to undertaking the exploration to confirm his idea. When no positive response came from Portugal, Columbus moved to Spain in 1484. He spent the next 8 years seeking support of Ferdinand and Isabella, the 2 leaders of Spain. Columbus stated that his voyage, if successful, would expand the influence of Christianity and promote the power and glory of Spain. It was difficult to get the support of Queen Isabella, but it was finally given in 1492. A royal charter was granted by Isabella, giving Columbus the title of Admiral and 1/10 of all the profits derived from the exploration. Starting from 1492, Columbus made 4 voyages. On his first voyage, he made use of 3 vessels. From Spain, Columbus left for a place believed was very close to Japan. By 12th October 1492, 10 weeks of journey, he arrived at a place he still believed was very close to Japan. In actuality, the place was an island in the Bahamas. Later in October, he reached Cuba, which he declared was part of the mainland for Cathay, China. Besides Cuba, Columbus founded a colony in the neighboring island of Hispaniola, Haiti. He also sighted San Salvador. Columbus named the people of this island Indians and the area itself Indies, for he was sure of the land he had found was a part of Asia, not very far away from India. After this discovery, Columbus started on his return home in January 1493, arriving in Spain in March. He announced that he has found a route to the Indies. His less Spaniard supporters believed him, but not so the more he experienced Portuguese. In September 1492, Columbus set out on his second voyage. His objective was to develop the colony he had established in Hispaniola and to continue westward to Japan and India. During his trip, Columbus found more islands, notably the Virgin Island and the island of Puerto Rico. After spending 1490, take two. After spending 1495 and part of 1496 in Hispaniola, where he tried to rally the colonists and assert Spanish authority over the indigents, he returned to Spain, leaving instructions to search for gold deposits. He promised to return the following year with a larger fleet. Although Columbus made discoveries during the second voyage, the expedition was a failure as far as progress to Japan and India were concerned. A third voyage was made in 1498. During this voyage, he found Trinidad and sighted the mainland of South America, but gave them little attention. He was in all probability unaware that what he had found was a new continent. He probably regarded it as an extension of Asia. On reaching Hispaniola, he found his enemies in control and the colony in uproar. The details of what happened to Columbus after this incident should not delay us. It is suffice to note that he undertook his fourth and last voyage in 1502 and 1503. And by this time, he was no longer the admirer and the governor of the land he had discovered. He remained unshaken in his belief that Asia was not far off. During the last voyage, Columbus was looking for a strait leading to the east from the western limits of his previous discoveries. He did not locate this strait until his death in 1506. The significance of the contribution of Christopher Columbus to voyages of discovery has been a subject of debate. Some writers rank him as one of the greatest names of the ages of discovery, while others feel that his achievement has been exaggerated. The latter views severely criticize Columbus' geographical ideas and seamanship. It is argued, for instance, that what he discovered was different from what he hoped for, and that he did not even recognize that he has found new lands. Not only this, it is argued that as an administrator, he was a failure. For instance, he could not adequately administer the colony he established. Above all, it is said that Columbus died disgraced, unnoticed, and a disgruntled man, even though he was wealthy. Some of these opinions are valid, yet it would be unfair to deny Columbus an important place in the history of European exploration. The truth is that he deserves a special place in European overseas exploration. No doubt, Columbus was a difficult character, obstinate, secretive, and overbearing. However, judged by results, his achievement was outstanding. In the first place, he dispelled the terrors of unknown ocean and led the way to the New World. The explorers of the other nations who followed Columbus were only carrying on the work he had begun. Many after him contracted their effort on the search for a water passage that will lead through to the new lands and reaches of the Far East. In the second place, it was mainly as a result of Columbus' initiative that Spain turned to the sea. Explorers after Columbus. The work started by Columbus was continued by other explorers in Spain after his death. One of the explorers was Amerigo Vespucci. Although the geographical reason of Columbus had rejected that his discoveries formed part of a new continent, it was the voyages and writings of Vespucci which developed the idea that a new world or continent lay between Asia and Europe. Vespucci was an Italian, born in 1451. He came to Spain in 1492 and took active interest in navigation and exploration. He made two notable voyages in 1499 and 1501 to the New World. He popularized this in the account of his voyages. It was he who popularized in his writings the term New World. Hence, America was derived from the name Amerigo Vespucci. Undoubtedly, one other noble explorer after Columbus was Ferdinand Magellan. He accomplished the task of finding a western sea route to the Far East. Magellan was born in 1480. In 1517, he led the service of Portugal, where he had acquired immense experience to Spain. By this time, the Spaniards were already in the Caribbean, but their discoveries had as yet yielded them only moderate profits. The expedition of Magellan left Spain with 5 ships in September 1519. Forging ahead in spite of difficulties, Magellan reached the Ladrones in March 1521, and a few weeks later, the island of Sama and Cebu, belonging to the Philippine group. Unfortunately, shortly afterwards, Magellan and a number of his men were killed on 27th April 1521 while taking part in a local war in the land of Mactan. Although he died, his aim had been achieved. The East has been reached by sailing west from Europe. In the end, only one out of the 5 ships that began the expedition returned to Spain with 18 thin and hungry men after a voyage which lasted for 3 years. The voyage of Magellan was a remarkable achievement in the history of navigation. This is because Magellan was able to accomplish what Columbus attempted in vain. Not only this, the voyage was significant that it resulted in the circumnavigation of the world. This had an important geographical implication. It increased human knowledge and understanding of the world. Study section summary. In this study section, you have learnt that 1. The Spanish involvement in voyages of exploration added a new fillip to the European overseas ventures in the 15th and 16th centuries. 2. The westward quest and eventual discovery of the New World marked a significant turning point during this age of discovery. 3. It must be noted that the dedication of individuals such as Christopher Columbus, Amerigo Vespucci, Ferdinand Magellan, etc. to the exploration activities contributed immensely to the Spanish success in the age of exploration. End of study section 6. Thanks for listening.